Delightful and sweet.
The Honeys. Funny man Frank Carson.
Nowhere else.
Minutes. Memories of an all-time great, first on BBC One, in conversation with Parkinson.
A fellow once said to me quite candidly, he said, I watched your act, he said, from back at snooker table. He said, you know, we've had all big names here, Gladys Allsop, Jenny Lind of the Shires. She sings Dear Am I Got to Thee and does a striptease in a bucket of ferrets. Very hard-bitten woman, but very nice with it. He said, are you approachable? I said, yes. He said, would you mind a word of constructive criticism? I said, not at all. He said, well, I think you're crap.
Les Dawson warming up for an interview I did with him in 1974. It was a meeting I remember with great affection because it was one of those occasions when the interviewer becomes the feed for a comedian. Les Dawson made me laugh. What's more, he knew he did. He'd only got to look at me, curl his lip, and I'd gone. I'm going to show you excerpts from 3 interviews we did without attempting to explain or comment. All you need know is that if you enjoy watching them as much as we did making them, then you're in for a treat. First, that meeting in 1974.
You've got a nice band there. They're all individual musicians, you know. It's just when they play together, it's such a bloody row.
Let's talk about, instead of one-liners, let's talk about you fairly seriously, Mr. Dawson, as a comedian. Because it always strikes me when I watch you on television, or in fact do a club, that one of the things about your style is this kind of aggression with the audience. I mean, you're capable of giving it at them, bonk. And I wonder where that came from.
Well, it started really, I suppose, in Hull. I was having a terrible time. I was dying everywhere in India. They were calling me the fourth prophet. And I got this booking in Hull. It was a fisherman's club, and they virtually came straight from the trawler with barbs and salt caked on their faces, with a sock full of money. They sat down and they drank to oblivion. And an act was just superfluous. They didn't need an act. And I died the death of death, night after night. Because in those days, I used to sing and play the piano and get a few laughs, particularly when I played and sang. And one terrible night, they were letting bottles go, and pennies were being thrown.
How do you mean letting bottles go?
Well, they used to shake them and take the cork off. So it was like sort of alcoholic alamein. It got to the Thursday, and I couldn't face this anymore. So I went to a pub in the land of green ginger and got stoned. And I went back, and I couldn't get off the piano. So this makeshift curtain opened, and I was on this podium, and I couldn't get off the piano. So I said, it's a great pleasure for me to be in this superbly decorated kipper factory, which they just spent 20,000 quid on. And suddenly, I was getting laughs.
Yes.
Oddly enough, I seem to have found a style.
Yes.
Which I'd never had before, you know.
Yes.
So time went on, and I sort of tried to develop this style.
Yes. It is partly aggressive, isn't it? It's sort of going back.
Yeah, but it's also a defence mechanism as well, you know. Aggression is the best, form of defence, I suppose, in one respect. That's it. Because there are some tough audiences up there, you know.
Oh, my word, there are.
I mean, there's some, you know yourself, in Barnsley. I mean, if they like your act up there, they don't clap, they let you live. You're working well. Move your legs so they know you've been on.
Listen, but after you did this, you started this style in Hull. You, in fact, did a lot of other jobs, didn't you, before you made it big? What do you remember most vividly?
I was a vacuum cleaner salesman. And a woman called me in, because I looked so pathetic at the door, and I had a suit that was so shiny, I used to clean it in mirror gloss. I took the vacuum cleaner, and she was in a hurry. And I was trying to show the method where this cleaner worked with the agitator underneath. And my tie got caught in it. So while I'm choking to death near the spin dryer, she's wanting to get to the shops. And it was only inadvertently by threshing my legs about to try and get air, so I managed to cut the switch off. And when I was still there, she said, you're not much bloody good, are you? Just crawling in the garden gate.
Terrible job.
And then I got a job with a company that made plastics. And this was terrible. I could never understand the enthusiasm for plastics. And I couldn't sell it. Until one day I got a letter from a bloke in Kendal, and in the letter he said he'd like to see me, to make an appointment. Because he was very interested in the product we made, and I was really thrilled to bits, you know. I said to the wife, I said, at last I made your breakthrough. We're going to be a two-loaf family, you know. Marvellous. At least I've got an order. So I phoned him up, he said, come up. He said, bring your stuff up. Bring it up. So I stood there, and I got to the place. It took me about 3 hours through a blizzard, you know. It was so wet they were having lifeboat drill on the buses. Eventually gets there, and I opened my bag of tricks in the shop, and he said, I know what I want. Them tea strainers. Now, they were 1 and 3 a dozen. I didn't quail. I thought, well, if he buys 3 or 4 gross, it's not too bad. So I said, certainly. So I said, how many do you want? He said, 3. I argued all night to sell him a dozen. He wanted 3. So I put the order into the company, and they sent me this beautiful letter back. And it said, dear Mr. Dawson, re your esteemed order. May I say that the company is now working overtime to fulfill this most valued order. And at the same time, the cards came.
That's very sad, isn't it?
Oh, well, it's the story of my life.
It is sad, yes. You also, it can't have been too sad, because I read somewhere that you once played in a French brothel. You played piano in a French brothel, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't a lot of money, but there was plenty of perks. No! What happened was I was over there trying to be a writer, would you believe? Because I was full of these daft ideas, and I firmly believe that you must gravitate towards Paris if you want to be a writer, which is the worst place in the world, you know. And I was living pretty rough, you know. It wasn't the place I had was dreadful. I had a little room. It was so small when I turned the lights on, I was in bed before it was dark. You know, I used to get bed breakfast and cramp pills. But the landlady kept a good table. There was nothing on it, but it was a bloody good table. And to make ends meet, which, well, I had to do, so I had to play the piano. But, you know, I studied under Gladys Mills, but she got too heavy. So I started playing the piano in this place, and I thought I was doing great. And then I found out that it was to get rid of the customers.
Really? You played them out, did you?
Yes, to try and break the rhythm. That was basically what it was.
It's something, of course, you shared in common with another great comedian, W.C. Fields, because he played piano in a Pittsburgh brothel, didn't he?
That's correct, yeah.
And I have to know that, I mean, you're a fan of his, aren't you?
Oh, I always have been, yeah. To me, he was the greatest. Not because of what he said, but how he said it. I used to love the play. Love the plays. And to me, he comes out with the most immortal line I've ever heard. It was virtually a deathbed soliloquy, because a fortnight later he died, but he was in bed. You know, he was a great drinker. He didn't have a navel, he had a plimsoll line. And he was laying in bed, and he's reading the Bible, and this producer came in, and he said, Bill Fields, you of all people reading the Bible. He said, I'm looking for a loophole. Not bad.
That's a great line. Yeah, extraordinary quality.
Well, exactly.
Incredible style. What about I mean, you're very much in the great line and tradition of the North Country comedians, aren't you? Two things here. Who's the one that you personally admire most of all?
Rob Wilton.
Rob Wilton. That's interesting. Why?
Well, I think, again, because he was based... I think one of the things that makes humour in the North, and this isn't having to go at the Southern audiences particularly, but it was based on adversity more than anything else. Mm. Where in the South in those days, it was never really as bad as the North. No. And people like Rob Wilton and all the other great comics were steeped in this. And there was a great warmth and depth. I mean, one of his lovely things was he said, things were very bad. And a friend of mine said, let's buy a greyhound and win a few bob at White City. So we bought a greyhound called Flash. I wouldn't say it was slow, but on its first race, the hair bit its leg. So I said to this friend of mine, I said, this is ridiculous. It's costing a fortune in fodder. Not about his mother, but his fodder. He said, let's get rid of it. He said, my pal said, you're quite right. He said, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll throw it in the canal. Oh, I said, there's no need to do that. Let's just run away from it. Beautiful. And that's the sort of humour that transcends the so-called generation gap. It's a funny remark with a lot of heart in it.
And humour out of adversity.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you didn't laugh, you went under, I suppose. That's
exactly it.
Yeah.
Jewish race, anybody, any sort of ethnic group that's ever been persecuted.
Yes.
I mean, I do a lot for the poor, you know, the wife, the mother-in-law, the rest of it. You're nice when you smile, aren't you?
What's your mother-in-law? I mean, you've got a mother-in-law, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. She's very nice, actually. She's very nice. She's got a face like a bag of spanners. She once went for a swim in Loch Ness and the monster got up and picked it in the lake.
What does she think, though, about you? I mean, does she think you're a loving son-in-law?
Oh, really? Very well together. When we stay at her house, you know, which is decorated in early Dracula, she knows that I am personally very fond of pets. And you can bet your life when I go to bed of a night, there's always a black-widow spider in the corner. She's a very big woman, you know. She has her knickers on a prescription.
Be serious. It's daft. It is daft. It's lovely. That was old. Who was that? That was old Norman.
Norman Evans.
Norman Evans.
You see, one of the beautiful things about on the last series we introduced these two old women in a laundrette, but it is something peculiar to Lancashire, the fact that when two women talk, particularly of that age group, if there's anything at all which they consider risque or something comparable to the female body, they never finish the sentence. This is perfectly true. So you'll get an insult. How's things? I believe she's near a time. Oh, yeah. I believe she's had a... And they never finished the sentence. It was really most peculiar, you know, and they used to get things mixed up. I may quote one thing that Peter Maloney from Liverpool...
Oh, he's a funny man.
Very true. About the woman in hospital, and this chap said, how are you? She said, I've been very ill, you know. She said, it's my time of life, I don't. She said, it's a very serious operation. It's called an hysterical rectum. Beautiful.
It does you good to have a laugh.
Hey.
Anyone for going?
I like a bit of the old... Hey, very good, man.
The reason why you make me laugh so much, you see, is because when I...
paid?
No, but because it goes right back to my youth when, you know, Mum and Dad used to take me to pantomime. I told a Twiggy about it. And Norman Evans and Nat Jackley. Do you remember?
Oh,
I mean, it used to slay me. And that great line of North Country humour, which, I mean, you're either plugged into or you're not, actually.
Well, you see, exactly, this is the point. But I think one of the nice things is because of television that this ridiculous differential between the North and the South is now gone.
Yes.
With the people down here at the North, it's just the same thing. There's nothing different. It's just that in the North you used to have some peculiar sayings. If I dare quote this, but there was also an old farmer, he said to me, as you hear this laying up Chadcastle, he said, coaching couples are always at it. He said, I caught a couple the other day that were going at it like a frog up a pump. But it's descriptive. What a lovely descriptive feel.
There can be only one possible virtue of that story, Lester, if it's true.
I promise you
it's true. It's a quote.
I do promise.
You've done some work recently in Germany, haven't you?
Oh.
Did you have to learn German for it, or?
Yeah, I tried.
You tried?
Yeah.
But how do you get the gags over?
Well, this was the difficult part of it, because when we got there, the fortnight before the show was actually due to go, two of us went to try and suss the scene out to see what they wanted. And the German mentality is something I'd never previously come across, because it's all, you know, faces really like flint. Really, you've noticed, they're really hard, unyielding. So they had a girl there with braided hair, you know, looked a bit like Danny LaRue. Awful. And she sat there and she said, you tell me what you are going to do, which is funny, and I will tell all my colleagues around the table. So in this atmosphere, I said, well, the first thing we'd like to do is there is a man sweeping the street. She said, a man in Straßen fighting with the broom and... Yo. I said, he looks one way, and this is what broke me. She said, man who looks einfach. Which is German for one way. Right. And I said, he then looks the other way. She said, einfach, fat um die Straße. I said, he then lifts up the pavement and brushes the dirt underneath it. And there was a silence like a forgotten tomb. And she said, I think I should tell you that in Germany, the payments don't lift up. Frightening, really was frightening.
How did you survive it? Only just?
Yeah, we got through, actually. In fact, consider the mountainous area. They call me that, you know, they're named after a mountain flower over there, the Adelswine. No, it went quite well, but they put a top course on the Berlin Wall after that. It really was frightening, it really was.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to tell a joke about the mother-in-law's brassiere, but I do a joke, you know, I say, I'm not saying she's a big woman, but she hangs a brassiere up to dry, a camel makes love to it. In German, this comes out like Die Schweiz muss das Busten halten, mit der Haaren mit der Ölfänten betankt. And by the time you've said it, you've forgotten the bloody thing. No chance.
I mean, people must always ask you this question, but it's one that interests me particularly about you. I mean, how do you see the function of humour, Les? I mean, what is it? What's the comedian about?
I don't know. There's been many. I mean, one of the terrifying things about this subject is, quite honestly, that how can you analyse what is funny? I mean, you've got a big audience here of 200, 300 people. What is funny to one isn't funny to another because it's the reverse side of tragedy. If something happens to you personally, it is tragic to you. Other people will sympathise, but it's your problem. The same with humour. What is funny to you is a personal thing.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that most comics do get sad about, is when you get critics who will virtually axe a programme only because of what they believe.
Yes.
I think it's pretty terrible when the public themselves can't make their minds up. You know, you get a critic in the paper the day after the show's gone out.
Yes.
Surely the public can make their own mind up. No comic can please everybody. Yeah. You know, and I get upset when I get some of the knocking letters, you know, terrible letters you get.
Yes.
And I think, well, why? Because the greatest crime you're convicted of is trying to make people laugh. And in this day and age, we're very short of it.
That's absolutely true.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And does it get more and more difficult the more desperate the situation becomes to make people laugh?
Well, this is where I think the odd thing is, because I think the great days of the musical, and certainly the great days of Rob Wilton, the comics, flourished when there was a recession. Because I think, in a way, although it sounds, and I'm going to get thousands of letters over this, if we have to tighten our belts in this country economically, it might be the best thing in the world to bring us together again. Because there was a day when people were a community. All of a sudden, if you put economics there, you shut that front door with your colour set and your big car and drive, and you're not a community anymore. You're vying with next door. And I think it would be nice if we start saying, right, we've got a problem, let's work on it. And I think that this is where comedy is so essential to have.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you look at some of these trade union leaders, I mean, look at the fluffy scene, the conversation. We want more. Not an ounce of humour with them. You know, I think we're desperately short of this, I really do.
Well, so long as you're around, mate, I, for one, will be never short of a laugh, that is for sure.
Where's the cheque?
It's in the post. Les Dawson, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, mate.
Les Dawson had a full repertoire of comic tricks, including the ability to play piano badly, as he demonstrated in an interview we did in 1976.
So let yourselves go. Forget where you are, forget all this trappings.
And let's hear you sing, and I just love you British so very much. Oh, you're marvellous, you really are.
Liberace. There's a man for you, I think. Right. We'll start off with Side by Side, so let's hear you sing. You ready? Raise the roof. It won't take much doing. The guttering's on the inside. Now, wait a minute. This sounds like an asthma clinic. Try it again. You haven't paid. Go on. That's it. Oh, come on, come on. You're overall. Just look upon this stage as our front room, right? We're having a bit of a do. I've opened a tin of salmon and we've got some lettuce. And try this one. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. That's it.
That's the idea. Give it up. It just flows. My father always said if you could play the piano, son, you'll never be short of a bob or two. Wrong.
That was splendid. Where did you learn to play piano like that?
In various places, the Conservatoire of Vienna. The very small clinic in Rue.
Well, Les Dawson, thanks a lot for coming along. As ever, I've enjoyed it. Very much indeed. Do you feel sort of insignificant standing next to me?
I'll just say one thing. I used to be as tall as you when I was hit with a lift.
Take care, my old sunshine. See you shortly, I hope. Come back on the show again.
Love to.
Learn to play the piano in the meantime, won't you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't forget the check this time as well.
No, that's right.
It took 7 weeks last time. Tell Billy Cotton. 7 weeks for nothing. You get nothing on this show, I'll tell you.
That's right.
You can't even afford a haircut. Have you seen the backing band? Oh, come on. The whole thing is a mess. Russell Harty for president.
Good going. He joins Jimmy Tarbuck on the blacklist. Right, my thanks to Lord Carnarvon, to Les Dawson. Until next week, about the same time, good night.
The last time I interviewed Les Dawson was in 1982. That was the year the Parkinson show was finished. On this occasion, his co-stars were Cleo Lane and Barbara Castle.
That wasn't a cough you had.
Wasn't it?
You've been on that again, haven't you?
How does it make you cough?
You drink like a demented carp. I don't care what they say, I'm going to blow the lid on you.
Are you? What are you going to tell them?
He's not a hard drink, he finds it easy.
I've never seen you be as nice, actually, to ladies before, because normally you're not, are you? I mean, you're a well-known misogynist.
What? Maybe sound like a blanket. I'm not a misogynist, I like women.
You do?
Yes.
What do you like about them?
Ooh! Cop, cop, cop! Of course I like women. I've been married for now, was it? Been married for 22 years now. It's just like yesterday.
Is
If
it?
it was tomorrow, I'd cancel the bloody day. I think everybody, I think everybody has a tragedy in life. Because many years ago, that's why coming to London is almost like a pilgrimage for me. I once fell in love with a girl down here, for long before I was married. She was called Agatha Boulder Bottom.
Boulder Bottom?
She had 2 sisters, but they died of embarrassment. And I met her at Battersea Funfair, I was a member, in the Tunnel of Love. She was digging it. There was something about the way she was sat on this pile of clay. And she had this donkey under her arm. It wasn't a pet, she just had it for kicks. And I said, did you hire that donkey? She said, yes, there's a screw under the saddle. I always remember that night, you know. Ladies will appreciate this because it's the finesse of a man's approach which really is the guide to a woman's heart. And that night I said to her, could I have a date? She said, I've only got figs left. I said, you can work them. She said, I'll probably work you. I always remember we went to... When you look back now on the silly things, which to other people I might say I'm silly, but to me it was so intense, that affair. We were on the bus and we held hands, and it took some doing. I was upstairs, she was down. And we went to this little French restaurant in Whitechapel. And all the menu was in French. So I ordered chasse ce soir, les chantatives, va chanter les provinciales. The waiter said, you can't have that, it's the band. So we had cod and chips. And you know, suddenly the heart began to pump like a sluice pump. Really. And I bent across to kiss her lips. And there's a candle on the table, and she moved her head away angrily. And I fell on the candle. It took the head waiter 15 minutes to get the wick from up my nose. And then, you know, these things happened. We went back to her flat that night. And one of those terrible tragedies, Michael, and I can talk to you. I can call you Michael, can't you? It's only your fault. No. But I remember you when you were a professional. Well, let me tell you, I have to get this off my chest because it's something that's been biting at me, almost like a sort of acidity in the soul which had to come out.
Well, that sounds awful.
With that got the boulder bottom, we went to her flat that night, and she had that dewy way that women have when they're emotionally moved. And she said, I'm going to slip into something cool, and I found her asleep in the fridge. And then it happened, that 1,000-to-1 quirk of fate that capriciousness often throws our way. She fell asleep on a waterbed, and the house caught fire, and she was poached to death.
My God, it's nice to be here, Michael. You've got a grand band.
Oh, God. I don't know. When did you start making people laugh? When was the start of it?
The way it's going tonight, it didn't start, did it?
You were very long, mate.
That's what I noticed, it's rent a shroud. I'll tell you what, the better the audience we had last week for our show.
Really?
God, they were undertakers.
Really?
That was bad enough, they had the clients with them. I'm not joking, I've seen more life in a tramp's vest. But I persevered, I must admit, at the end of the night, you know, we had them with us all the way, but I shook them off at Sheen. I don't know, when I was a kid, I suppose. You see, when you're born with a face and a body like this, there's very little you can do in life.
No, I mean, you've done many things in your life.
I could never attract women. I can't pull a ligament.
Of course you can.
Look at me.
No, you're cuddly, isn't he?
Really?
Yeah, clearly.
Really?
Yeah, but...
Really?
Yeah. You could play the romantic leads in Billy Bunter Goes to Hollywood, or Return of the Fat Man, or...
Don't be funny. Don't break a habit of a lifetime.
No, you know, I want my head tested. You know, never mess with the pros, you see. I should learn that.
You're a nice guy. I think you've got a great show. I think you're Robin Humby. It's a great show. Sort of Russell Harty with O-levels. Thanks, lads.
But, I mean, you're in many careers. I mean, you're not just a comedian. I mean, you're in the army, for one thing.
Oh, yes.
What do you do in the army?
Tank driver.
Driver.
What's so funny about that?
You couldn't get in a tank.
Used to get me with a shoe horn. And axle grease. Listen, I'll have you know something, Michael Parkinson.
Yes, let's do it.
That I served the Queen's Base 2nd Dragoon Guards.
Did you?
I'll tell you something else you don't know.
Yes.
I came from a military family.
Did you?
You've heard of the Thin Red Line?
Yes.
Thin red line?
Yes.
We were the fat yellow blob. My great-great-great-great-grandfather fought with Wellington. They couldn't trust him with a gun.
She's a marvellous
Oh, we've been friends for years, you know.
Yeah.
Until that Dankworth came along and spoilt it all.
Well, of course.
She's right on my street, is Lane. Is she? Yeah. Then my grandfather was in the First World War, and he was on the Somme when the first shot was fired. He was under bed in crew when the second one was And when I went to the army, I was asked if I wanted a commission. I said, no, I'll have a straight salary. And then, of course, the blow, I was court-martialed.
You were what for?
Well, I couldn't get up in the morning.
Really?
And the commanding officer said, don't you ever hear the bugle? I said, no, they play it when I'm asleep. So the greatest...
It's a terrible joke, that.
Sorry.
That's really awful.
I'm sorry to two of Michael's viewers. Not about the other one. But the one member of our family that I'm proud of is Emmerdale Dawson. Oh. He was a bugler with Custer.
Was he?
Yep. And he was there to the very end in that magnificent battle at Bull Run. And Custer said, OK, Emmerdale.
Did he used to talk like that?
He did an impression of Margaret Rutherford. Oh, very, very nice. He said, Emmerdale, the Indians are gonna get us. Now, they weren't Blackfeet, but the necks were a funny colour. He said, pass me my scarlet trousers so they won't see the blood. He said, what will you wear? He said, khaki. It could be cut. It could be cut.
It won't. No, it won't. What were you doing behind the set when I was talking to Barbara?
I'll tell you what I was doing.
What were you doing?
I was stuck in a little... Have you seen... Did they send a car for you tonight?
Yes.
I got a pre-war bull-nosed Morris. I've got a dressing room up there. It's so small, when I put my shoes out to be clean, my feet were still in them. I've had 2 glasses of cheap wine and a bun.
Sorry about it.
That's all. I'm filling up. Nobody... I was on my shared dressing room. It was full. There's nobody in my room. Nothing.
Oh, it's sad, that, isn't it?
Even the mouse was a ventriloquist.
But have you been keeping in good health, though, have you?
I've not been too bad. I went to the doctor the other week. I said, what's good for wind? He gave me a kite. Did I say smiles? Oh, all those broken teeth.
But, I mean, it's all right, is it?
Everything's cleared up now, the doctor said.
Say what, sir?
I just get a twinge now. But I've got this germaline. Because you must remember, my husband's a lot older than me. He's 95.
95?
And yet, despite the great age gap, he's very agile. I just rub him down with Fiery Jack. Give him a blanket bath and he's good as new. And do you know something? Physically, our union is blessed.
Really?
I never go... He's always... Mind, we have to put him on a pulley and a leather hat.
And, of course, the nicest thing happened to you is that I put this old comic on this show and out of generosity and charity and let people see how the old music hall comedians used to be before Des O'Connor came along.
I don't know what it is about you, Mike. You can take a piece of material and destroy it. There's one thing I'd like to say. When I was a boy, the greatest pleasure I ever had in life was to visit my grandparents on the coast of Northumbria. But only the mew of a gull, the plaintive mew, and the boom of the sea fragmented the almost physical silence. And inside the cottage, the whitewashed walls seemed to echo in bold relief against the flickering shadows of a log fire. And on the table was impedimented of their age, photographs and faded prints, because theirs was a romance that endured for many years. Because when he limped home from the Ardennes in 1918, he fell in love with my grandmother. And he plucked a strand of her golden hair, and he wrapped it around a pound up and bet it on a horse. And she used to hold him and sing into his ear. She had a very strident voice.
What, the horse?
No. And they did that every year of their lives. And they're here tonight.
Are they?
Yeah, she's bald and he's deaf.
Well, we were gonna. I asked him if he had any last requests. This actually is not being rehearsed at all, unlike most things. He wants to play piano. Do you want to play? You don't want to play piano, do you? All right. Well then, what I shall do then is I shall thank Barbara Carson and Cleo Lane for their help and their accomplished talk and their accomplished singing. I'll leave you in the hands of this fella playing the piano. Would you like me to escort you over there, or would you like to walk over unaided?
It will be in the manner of a sort of sing-song.
A sing-song.
Right.
Right.
Now, we'll do two numbers.
Yes.
First one will be The Bells Are Ringing for Me and My Gal.
Yes.
Swiftly followed
Right.
by Oh, You Beautiful.
Oh, you beautiful. Les Dawson. Right.
Come on, let's hear you. I haven't asked many...
They never tire of the old gags, do they, comedians? Les died in 1993, aged 59. They held a memorial service in Westminster Abbey. Not bad for someone brought up in a Manchester slum, who was described in one obituary as a former vacuum cleaner and washing machine salesman made good. Someone once said that when a comedian dies, all you're left with are distant echoes of forgotten laughter. But what's also true is that when you're reminded of their talent to amuse, like tonight, you come to realise what a gap they leave. Good night.
I have been asked many times, can I play the piano properly? With the aid of this orchestra, to dispel any doubts on that subject, my interpretation of Scott Joplin's immortal The Entertainer.
Michael Parkinson will be talking to restaurateur and former Glasgow Ranger Gordon Ramsay and sports broadcaster Cliff Morgan this Sunday morning in his Sunday supplement starting at